People have been asking about soulmates. What's a soulmate? How do I know if this person's a soulmate, and so on and so forth? So let's try to see what we can do about it. The Zohar tells us that, based on the Gemara as well, and so on, many other places, that when a person is 40 days before a person is created, that's what the Gemara says, 40 days before a person is created, there's a heavenly voice that comes out and says, this individual is the mate of that individual. 40 days before conception. Then the Gemara says further that up to 20 years old is Zivug Rishon, the first mate. After that, according to your actions. What does exactly mean? What's going on here? The soul is let's call it a unit that is divided into two. One half goes to a man, one end go to a woman. Therefore, spiritually speaking, there's no such thing as same-sex marriage spiritually, because it is an imbalance. A feminine attribute, masculine attribute. Without getting into too much of Eastern philosophies, because this is not Torah, but the concept of yin and yang. Male, female. If there's no male, female, there's no opposites. Through the opposites, you create harmony of one. You have a plus, you have a minus. And the minus and plus are defined by the zero in the middle. Imagine a world without zero. Zero is an invention, by the way. They invented the concept of zero. It's when men became a little bit more intelligent. The point of zero is the soul, and then it's the part. I'm not saying plus or minus, men is minus, women is plus, or vice versa, but just two opposites. We need the opposites in order to create a unit that is harmony. Because if there are no opposites, there is never a middle point. There's never a zero. A zero is not nothing. A zero is a middle point. So, that soul is being split, that unit, the spiritual unit is split into two, and is being given away to whoever it is. That is also determined, like which soul will come down to the child is determined by the purity of the action of mating a husband and wife, or male and female together. The more spiritually inclined, the more clean, the holier the soul that will come down. The cleaner the soul, the higher the soul. So therefore, the ability to affect future generation really starts at the moment that the male and female are joined together in that act, and as a result of that, the baby is born. So the soul of the child many times is determined on the clean mind of these two people. And it's a level that is a little hard to achieve nowadays because of the ongoing bombardment of filth that is coming our way. And if filth comes your way, eventually you're going to get dirty unless you just simply step out of the side. So the baby has come to the world, and now there is a journey. The journey is to try to put those two pieces together. However, one should know that until 20 years old, it is determined on other factors prior to the person becoming 20, who would be the soulmate on the level of intensity of purity or impurity and so on and so forth, and the parents, both parents together. From 20 years old, one should know that the soulmate could actually change. What does it mean? I'll show you. It just fell. This is the soul that was split in half. This is before 20. before 20. After 20, now it depends. Sometimes a person will do actions, or will be involved with actions that would actually make his part bigger. So that part got bigger. He was working on himself spiritually. And the other part of the soul even just remained the way it is. There was no spiritual progress. Those pieces don't fit anymore. Since they don't fit anymore, now they need to fit him in Shamayim, in heaven, with an appropriate piece that would actually fit him. Sometimes you would see a person getting a piece that is bigger than his. Let's say, for example, the guy gets all of a sudden this girl who is spiritually high. She has a huge soul. And you say, well, how is this match? Many times, actually all the times, everything in life is a process, is a journey. You don't see the results immediately. But sometimes the actions in which the person had started to do would lead him on such a course that we need to fit him with an appropriate match at this stage of his life where he decided to get married, so they'll fit him with actually a soul that is bigger than him, just so they can fit later on because of the actions in which they had started to do. And the other way around. And the other way around. What happens if a person decides to marry somebody else? Let's say, for example, he has this X and Y, and all of a sudden X decided to marry B, where really Y is his soulmate. That's called free choice. Many times we make choices if we are lucky. Most people don't make choices. We'll just wait for things to happen. But let's say you make a choice, you make a decision to do that. You need to make sure that your decision is well calculated, well examined, and based on values that are actually common to both parties. You don't get married because of beauty and looks, because this does not fit. That's why most people today end up in a divorce. That's why most couples who get married end up in a divorce. It's a ridiculous, setup. Something is wrong here. Why? Because the way in which we evaluate our person, or the reason why we're going to get married to this person, or the person himself, are wrong. Therefore, it does not match. If things, as a husband and wife, if things need to get into emotion and start spinning, that doesn't sound like a good, it's like a flat tire. It's going to bounce all the time. So many times it happens like this, and a person decided to marry someone else, and now what are we going to do? Well, now we left Y alone. So now Mishamayim, they're going to match the other person to it. Sometimes that soul needs to go a far distance. For example, a soul was split, or a soul will be determined. Right now this person is not Jewish. You cannot marry this person and assume that because it's not for you. That person needs to come up closer, needs to become a Jew, in order to fit that again. So we don't know where it is. We just need to determine it. And how do we determine? What are the tools? The Torah. What Chachamim told us, what to look for a soulmate. Especially the problem becomes with guys. I mean girls also, but guys. And we neglect to remind ourselves, regardless of the fact that we sing it every night, every Friday night. Sheker achen ve'evel hayofi. Eshet chayil mi'imtza. Sheker achen ve'evel hayofi. Isha yirat Hashem itit halal. And so on and so forth. So therefore we are talking about here a concept that we need to remind ourselves that beauty is vain. Beauty is not what really is. It's not external beauty. The Yirat Shamayim is the true beauty. How many people will be willing to live up to that? And then they're going to say, well, Rabbi, what happens if I'm not attractive to that person? How in the world could you be attracted to a woman whose argument's like, let's say, a sleazebag? Can a person be attracted to, what would you say about a person who is attracted to a prostitute? So, well, what's wrong with you? Well, she's beautiful. That's very nice that she's beautiful. But something is missing. Nobody would ever think about marrying a woman like that. Or a girl, would she marry a guy who is a dirtbag? Okay, so he has a six-pack and he has a lot of money and he looks, okay, now what? What are you going to do with that? Do you want this one to be the father of your children? So a person who thinks like that did not really come to terms with what really is important and what Chachamim are suggesting to him to do, doesn't really get spiritually in tune with himself. He's not spiritual. He's completely physical. What happened? It's all in place. The woman is Yirat Shamayim. Yes. She's modest. Yes. This. Yes. Everything. Yes. However, she is not that hot. So I don't know what to tell you. Go break a sweat and she'll be hot. I mean, what do you want me to do? Now you're going to come to me later on, 5 years from now, Rabbi, I have a problem. That person, a person like this, is completely physical. It's not spiritual. Maybe would like to be spiritual, but haven't done anything yet to become spiritual. It's like enlightenment. Spirituality is like enlightenment. It doesn't come to you all of a sudden like this. Boom. Wow. You don't have it. Gradually, slowly. Come in small increments. All of a sudden you'll find yourself, you'll get this little thing and there will be the particle. Spirituality is the same thing. You're not going to become one day, you're going to be all physical. Next day you're going to become super spiritual. If that happened, either you had a mental breakdown or you used some kind of drugs, or there's no such thing. Or God himself had revealed himself to you. But that usually doesn't happen. Spirituality and enlightenment and so on and so forth go hand in hand. They are almost identical. In other words, they are the same. To be able to see the light is to be spiritual. The body, the physical form, is a cover that holds in the light from coming out. You need to be able to look beyond that. Here, give me a cup. Here, this cup, is there anything in it? Or give me a new one. Thank you, Moses. This is the body. This is a beautiful body. This is a little see-through, but this is the candle. And this is your soul. This is the body. It goes inside. Most of the time, most vessels will be completely opaque. They would not allow any light to escape. Our job is to remove this and to stay with the candle, to be able to see through it. And how do you see through it? Let me teach you an example. That's why God gave us two eyes. Take your left hand. Take your left hand. Cover your left eye. Now close your right eye. What do you see? Nothing. Now open your right eye. All of a sudden you'll be able to see things that are in front of your hand. So in a way you see through your hand. Because your right eye compensates on that. So that's what happens. We have two eyes to be able to compensate even on a hand that is through it. Because for example, if Michael is sitting right now, if I'm going to cover my left eye and close my eye, I don't see Michael, I don't see anything. But if I put my hand over and I go like this, I can see Michael, but I don't see Michael through my eye. I see Michael with this eye. That's what we need to see. One eye to see the physical and one eye to see beyond it. That's exactly what it is. Your soulmate, above all, is also determined on you. What do I mean? Let's say HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mishamayim, from heaven, they sent you your soulmate, the person who is perfect for you to make your life, put your life into a motion. And you decided not to. You decided wrong. More than that, even if you decided, yes, a person could become your soulmate if you decided, both of you, to merge your souls together into a mutual destiny. If you're going to live, you can have your soulmate from the 6 days of creation. If you decided to go an individual path, my career, your career, is mine and this is yours, that person would never become your soulmate. Sometimes you can take even other parts of the soul and merge them and fuse them together by great love, and that will become your soulmate. It will be determined very much so by your willingness to let go of yourself for the sake of the one, of not the other, of the one. You are working for a joint venture. You are doing this together. This is how you become a soulmate. When you're having kids, because you want to have kids, not because you need somebody to take care of you when you're old, not because your grandmother's putting pressure on you, not because that kid is an expression of your oneness. And when this kid comes to this world, treat him like he's the expression of your oneness. And you take care of your kids. And you're supposed to cherish your kids. And more than that, cherish the one you're with. Love the one you're with. Many times, unfortunately, in this individual society that we live in, we don't allow ourselves, and we don't allow ourselves to teach our children to let go. It's all about the I, the selfishness, the oneness of yourself, not of the other. That's why our societies fail. This is how families fail. And this is why our relationships fail. And at the end, this is why we fail as individuals. Soulmate is determined on your willingness to see God in your life, on your willingness to let go. So the more you let go, the more you'll be willing to judge things the way they should be, not how they fit into your scheme. More how you want to get things done. For example, you don't say, well, I want a woman who will be this, and then you just go by a checkmate, go like this, till you say, okay, that's the one. You need to look at the person to see how this person would fit into what you call your life. Do you have the same values? Do you share anything in common? Are you willing to create something in common? If not, your marriage is doomed to fail. It's doomed to fail. But if you're willing, so even if your soulmate will be in the other side of the world, you'll be in the North Pole, she'll be in the South Pole, it will work and it eventually will happen. So Rabotai, don't fool yourself about soulmates. Realize what Chachamim tells us. You need to exceed and excel in your emunah, in your faith. You need to have the proper outlook, hashkafa. It's not about if she comes from this kind of family or he comes from that kind of family or anything else external. You are not marrying the family, you're marrying the person. Speak to the person and before you engage in a relationship, be willing to give. Unconditional giving. Unless you're willing to give, don't date. And unless you're willing to get married, don't date. It's a waste of time and it will simply distort your view of your vision of what is important. Have a happy Chanukah.